What's up, crazy fam? Guys, listen up. In this video, I want to talk about how I went from being pretty much a bot to a 2.0 plus player, and it's still going up every season for the last 3 or 4 seasons. And trust me, it was a process. And not only did my stats go up, but I even managed to get to top 500 trials for a few weeks in a row. But in order to get to this point, I had to make some changes along the way. There were some things that I identified when I watched my gameplay back and I started fixing it and so on. We're going to talk about some details and the 3 main things I had to fix to make my gameplay much better, especially when I'm going against really good teams, really good players. Because at the end of the day, that's the true test. When you go against those top teams, those amazing players that move like crazy, how you're going to perform. And listen, I know that having a 2-point plus KD every season isn't something crazy, not something that anybody hasn't done before or something like that. But if I was able to make that jump from a 1.0 or 1.2 to a 2.0 plus every season, why not share that experience with the best community out there? Yeah, I'm talking to you guys. But honestly, guys, the reason I mention these numbers isn't because I want to brag or anything. I'm just mentioning them so you guys get a better idea of how much better you can get with the tips that I'm about to give you. So let's talk about the 3 main things you need to understand in this game. 3 main things that you want to fix in order to get better. Now, the first one I want to talk about is something that not many people talk about actually, and it's the mentality. Now, I truly believe that both in game or in real life, if you don't have the right mentality in general, it's pretty hard to get better at anything you do. It doesn't matter if you're a bricklayer, it doesn't matter if you're a doctor, pretty much anything you do will be based on your mentality. And all of this applies to Destiny 2 PvP as well. You see, the problem is that a lot of players tend to always blame anything and anyone but themselves for their failures in PvP. Let me give you an example, and I say this all the time. If you keep dying to Jotun for 4 months in a row, it's probably your positioning more than the Jotun itself. If you don't identify the mistakes that you're making every day, you're simply not gonna get better. And please understand, there's nothing wrong with making mistakes. There's nothing wrong with failing. As long as you're ready to be real with yourself, find those mistakes, fix them up, and then start getting better. I'll give you a perfect example in my case. We were playing some really good players in Trials of Osiris. We won 1 game against them and then we lost another game against them. After the stream was done, I was looking back at the gameplay and I pretty much identified in that specific game what I could have done better. In that game, I was using Teraba. So what I would do is I would get a kill or 2, I would have my Ravenous Beast, and right away, I would just rush in. Pretty much no thought put in. Just get my Ravenous and just no positioning, nothing. Just fly in there, try to get those kills. Now, the problem with that was, since I was playing against really good players, they expected it and they would position themselves in such a way that I couldn't make most of my Ravenous Beast perk. When I watched the gameplay afterwards, I was like, okay, I see what the problem is. I can't be doing this anymore. Since then, when I have the perk up, I don't rush anymore. I take my time, I look at the radar, I position better, then I pop the Ravenous and get easy kills. Those are the little things that you need to pay attention to. If you're not real with yourself, nothing's gonna get better. It's just gonna stay the same way, and no matter what mistakes you're making or what KD you're stuck on, it's just not gonna change. Number 2, I want to talk about the main skill gap in Destiny 2. And to be honest, in most PvP games today, movement is the key. You'll see so many people just walking into lanes, no sliding, no jumping, no vertical movement. They're surprised that they get sniped, shotgunned. It's one of the biggest skill gaps and a lot of people overlook it. I realized that movement was one of the biggest problems that I had compared to the other good players. So I started working on that. Now, at first, it wasn't easy at all. I had problems with distance management. Even though on the radar, I thought I knew where they were, I would slide in and I would realize either I was too close to them and I would get shotgunned, or I was too far out of my SMG or sidearm range and I would get fusioned or sniped. So mastering that right there obviously took some time, some weeks, maybe even a few months. But at the end of the day, I started realizing what the mistakes were. And man, did it feel good when I started getting really good at sliding in and sliding out. For me personally, what helped the most was upping that sensitivity. I was able to slide from just standing there without any kind of like sprinting or anything. I could just slide out right away. I was getting into engagements in a split second while in movement, and that was giving me huge advantage in those 1v1s. By the way, I have a separate video where I go over my controller sensitivity settings for some amazing movement, flick sliding, and flick shots. So if you're interested, make sure to check it out. I'll drop the link in the description below. I started seeing the benefits of me putting in time, the benefits of me identifying the issues. I could already see I was progressively getting better. And even if you look at the stats right here, you'll see exactly what I mean. Every season, it just kept going up, and it was a great feeling to see the hard work pay off. Let me show you guys what, in my opinion, is one of the most important movements you need to master. For example, if you know somebody is around the corner, what you should be doing is sliding out, taking the shot, and sliding back in. If you're using a sniper or a fusion or even a shotty, obviously it has to be faster. Slide out, take the shot, and slide into cover right away. If it's a primary, then slide out, take your shots, and if you're winning, stay in the fight. But let's say if you slide out and get hit by a grenade or something, and it's pretty obvious that you're in a huge disadvantage right at the beginning of the fight, you need to slide back into cover. And this simple thing right here is one of the most amazing movement skills that will win you many fights as you master it. Now, the movement was one of the things that was pretty much pulling me back from getting better, but the second problem I started having was moving and aiming at the same time, because that's the hard part, right? You can have good aim, but once you incorporate really fast movement, your aim might go off. So that's where I started training. What I would do, I would fly in EDZ or just start up a private match, for example, and slide around like an absolute madman. Have a spot where I would just shoot all the time and try to hit it most of the time. Obviously, at first it was hard, but as time went by, it got easier and easier and easier. And then I would take it into PvP. I started doing the same, not just for the primary shots, but for my sniper shots. I would literally just slide out of the corner, try to aim down sights at the same time, get those sniper shots in, and then slide back into cover right away. Trust me, it was a process. It wasn't easy, but all of these things combined made me a much better player. With time, I could move like crazy, slide like an absolute madman, and land my shots all at the same time. That is the combination that you're looking for. Movement in combination with good aim. No matter what weapon you're using, by the way, it can be an auto rifle, shotgun, fusion rifle. If you understand your distance control, your movement, your timing, you are going to progressively get better. Now, another very important thing is game awareness. After I started mastering movement, I had to work on my game awareness, because that's another thing you need in order to use all of those things that we just talked about very effectively. Because at the end of the day, you can move well and have good aim, but if you don't have the understanding of where your enemy is at all times, you're not really gonna do much. Because if you slide out at the wrong time, at the wrong place, you are gonna get destroyed. But game awareness isn't just understanding where your enemy is. Game awareness is listening to the sound cues. Game awareness is using the vertical movement when you need to use vertical movement. Now, in order to have your muscle memory trained for this, obviously you need to put in the time. But guys, just playing 7 hours a day, if you don't think about all of these things that I just told you, isn't gonna do anything. Imagine this: if you go to the gym, but you do stupid shit all day long, you're not gonna see the same growth as somebody who has a plan, as somebody who has an idea of what to do. He has goals. He understands what he's lacking and he's working on those things. It's pretty much the same thing. Many of these things are just habits, and habits can be unlearned just the way you learned and got used to them. So once again, be honest with yourself, fix that mentality, work on your movement and shots, and work on your game awareness. Once again, look at the stats. They pretty much tell you the story. I was at 1.2, then you see a 1.28, 1.32, and so on. It consistently goes up. This formula works as long as you follow it. Yes, of course, it took me months and months, but at the end of the day, if you're still playing the game, if you're still putting in the time and you want to be good at it, these are the things that you should do. You should focus on the mentality, your movement and shots, and game awareness. But as mentioned, the main thing is to have a plan. At the end of the day, ladies and gents, the reality is this. If I could do it, you can do it too, right? I'm not from a different planet. That said, my arms do look pretty out of this world. But the point is, if I could do it, you can easily do it too. Don't be that guy that always blames something, okay? I feel like that's one of the problems in general, right? God forbid people are real with themselves and identify the flaws, identify the mistakes. Because in today's society, everything has to be easy. Everything has to be granted. If I can't go flawless, oh, it's got to be the game's fault. It's not my fault. It's not that I have to work on myself and get better. No, it's the game. It has to be easier. Make the game easier right now. As mentioned at the beginning of the video, ladies and gentlemen, failure is key to success. Don't be afraid of it. Don't avoid it. Don't be afraid to be real with yourself. Instead, cherish that moment. Focus on that mistake, fix it, get better. And trust me when I tell you, every single one of you guys has way more potential in you than you guys think. It's just all about staying focused, disciplined, and positive. And for all the people that don't know, I stream here on YouTube every day from Friday to Tuesday. I help tons of people to get their flawless loot. I do double carries on Mondays and Tuesdays. So I would love to see every single one of you guys live on stream. If you need that sweet loot, trust me, this is the best community out there. Anyway, that is it for this video, ladies and gents. You know how it goes. Never forget to share that positive energy all around. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one.